Okay, so one very important question which every cloud engineer or DevOps engineer has when starting out is which particular cloud to focus on, because as a DevOps engineer, you should have one particular cloud knowledge. For example, AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud, which are the top three major cloud providers, and they make the 70% of the entire cloud market. And it's very genuine question because you might get confused. Okay, whether I can find job opportunities in AWS or GCP or Azure. So what should I learn when starting out? So in this video, we'll talk about that, and also we'll talk about how to deal with multiple clouds and why it is beneficial to do that. So let's dive right into it. So if you are starting out and you don't know where to start, which particular cloud to pick, you can just start with any cloud. So, it can be AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. Now, AWS, makes 32% of the entire cloud market. Azure makes close to 23 or 24%, and then Google Cloud is like 11 to 12%, but gaining rapidly, right? But all these three cloud providers offer enough employment opportunities as well. So if you're starting out, just pick anyone, right? It can be Google Cloud. And in this video, I'll take that as example. If you're picking that, what you can do and how you can, maybe transition to different cloud. But you just pick one cloud and then dive deeper into it. For example, learn the IAM, identity and access management of that particular cloud, how it works, how it integrates, and all that stuff. Then dive into networking, how is VPC built, then what's the concept of subnet inside it, because it's a little bit different in AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. And then, dive into the compute aspect of it, the database or the storage part of it. So once you are done with all these important core or fundamental services of one particular cloud, then try to build on top of it, right? So for example, if you have learned something about Google Cloud Compute Engine, then try to run an application inside it, then interface it with a load balancer, and then see how the entire thing fits together, right? So that will be my recommendation. So when you are starting out, stick to one cloud. Now, suppose you have, mastered that particular cloud, and, one thing you can do is you can target for some certifications as well. When starting out, for example, in Google Cloud, you can target for, associate cloud engineer, which is the first step in getting started towards your Google Cloud journey. In AWS, I think it's AWS solution architect or cloud practitioner, and then you can build on top of it, right? Now, once that certification is done, try to do some hands-on, right? So I've made this video where I talk about 7 real-world projects that you can do to enhance your DevOps game, because certifications are good to just getting started, but you have to build on top of it with some real-world projects, right? And you have to back that knowledge with those particular skills. Now, once you are done with one particular cloud, now and suppose you have some time and you want to dive into multiple clouds, because we all know that many organizations out there are multi-cloud these days. For example, they would be using AWS for one particular service, and then they would be using Google Cloud for another application stack of theirs, right? So it's very common to have those multiple clouds which company use in today's world. Earlier it was just one cloud. Now I think multi-cloud is the way, and companies are realizing that. Now, if you want to learn and build on top of your primary cloud, for example, in this case, I'm taking example of Google Cloud, then you can dive into maybe AWS, right? So, for example, this particular architecture that I'm showing on the screen right now, right? So, for example, in this architecture, you can see that there's a user, then they hit the cloud DNS, the request goes to cloud load balancing, and then, there are a lot of compute engines backed by managed instance groups. And then there's a database in the backend from which all the queries and transaction happens. Now, this is one of, my very basic architectures to get started with any particular cloud. Because when I was shifting from AWS to GCP, this was the first architecture that I tried to implement in GCP. because in this one you will get a chance to learn about, okay, how to build a VPC, then the subnets inside it, then create an instance template, and then a managed instance group out of it. Then we'll create a load balancer which will connect to this managed instance group as the backend. The health checks will be configured. Then we will have the cloud DNS, which will, for example, route abcd.com to this cloud load balancer IP. And then, in the backend, the application will connect to Cloud SQL. Now, why this is very important? Because, when I was learning Google Cloud, there were subtle differences on how I implemented it on AWS and then how I implemented it on Google Cloud, right? So, for example, in AWS, the load balancers, it's not an IP, it's a fully qualified domain name, right? And that's what you use in Route 53. But here in Google Cloud, it's an Anycast IP, and it's just a single IP which you can directly add to Cloud DNS. So, there are a lot of advantages to it. For example, no additional hops, less latency. You don't have to resolve that DNS to just find out what does that particular domain name point to which IP. So here it's like Cloud DNS directly pointing to the IP rather than, Route 53 pointing to the FQDN of the ELB, I think in AWS. Now the subnets in AWS were zonal, but here the subnets are regional, right? So that's one, and the VPC is global. There in AWS, the VPC is regional. So these are some of the subtle differences I found, and it was a good learning, right? And then, how you connect to Cloud SQL is also a little bit different than how you connected the, the auto scaling groups, etc., and the EC2s with RDS. So it's a little bit different because here I think we have, Cloud SQL auth proxy and all. That's how we connect the applications running on Compute Engine to Cloud SQL. So if you are following me through this entire thing, right, you can understand how easy it becomes if you have one architecture and then you try to implement that architecture when you are trying to learn another cloud out of your primary cloud, right? So that's the advantage. And then you can expand, maybe to the third cloud as well, maybe Azure, etc. So there are various benefits as well, right? As I mentioned, a lot of companies are multi-cloud these days, and you can benefit if you know multiple clouds and if you have that architectures in mind, right? Now, it just doesn't have to be this particular architecture that I talked about. It can be anything, right? For example, Redshift to BigQuery, you can, compare Lambdas of AWS to Cloud Functions of GCP, etc., right? And then, maybe there you might be using EKS connecting to RDS. Here you can spin up a GK cluster connecting to Cloud SQL and then see how the traffic flows, how the load balancers are configured. So that's why it's very important to, dive deeper into one major cloud. And then once you are done with it, then you try to build on top of that for the other cloud, because it will be very easy. Because the services that you will use to configure the same architecture, it will be very much similar and with subtle differences, but you will know that, okay, what I want to achieve, etc. So that will be my recommendation. Now, one thing from personal experience is, now if you're interviewing, right? So for example, when I was primarily working on AWS and then I joined Google, now in my entire interview I used AWS services like RDS, I used EKS, then Lambdas, etc. And it was totally fine, because at the end of the day, they were judging based on my fundamental knowledge, like system design, whether I was able to, construct a highly scalable e-commerce website, etc., right? Troubleshooting a lot of things like slow website, etc. So these are some of the things, and I was judged on, not like, okay, I don't know GCP and I only know AWS, so it's totally fine, right? And many organizations understand that the people, if they have enough understanding of one particular cloud, they can easily ramp up on any other cloud as well. So that's what I wanted to share in this video. So if you liked this video, hit a thumbs button, that's the like button, and then feel free to share this video with your friends and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos like this. Now, I'm close to reaching 1,000 subscribers on this particular channel. Thank you for all the love and support. Now, what I'll do is I'll share a link of the form in the description below. You can add your email and name there, along with what topics you are interested in. so that I will conduct a YouTube live session maybe in December or January next month, and it will be a live session, so you can come up with any questions that you have. It can be anything: cloud, DevOps, AI, ML, or system design, application development, which particular application stack to choose, etc. It can be anything, and I'll try to answer those questions in that particular live session that I'll have. So the link is in the description of that particular form, and I am looking forward to connect with you all there, and looking forward to your good questions. Now, if you like this video, you'll also like this particular video where I share the entire 6 months cloud and DevOps engineer roadmap, and I hope you like that as well. So see you on the other side. Until then, you get to live, make the most out of it. Thank you.